coming back to our conversation, thanks so much for taking the time to join us and have a short but intense conversation on a topic which is even more important now. The topic is trust. Welcome to Future Makers. Steven, you're muted, by the way, so if you can demute or somebody can. Welcome to Future Makers, Steven. This is your first visit, let's say. Great to have you with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I mean, I joined a few minutes earlier, so I could see some of the presentations. Very interesting stuff going on. So yeah, a lot of success with also in the future. Glad we can support a bit. And
great to have you with us. And Paris, welcome back. We met last year, and it's a great privilege to work with you. So a bit of a recap of what happened so far in the past 3 hours. We had 2 great conversations about initiative with Mirona Paun and Vio Urda, grand winners of Future Makers 2018 and 2019. We had another conversation about innovation and tech today and in the next months with Bogdan Iordache from How to Web. And we had already more than 30 finalist teams presenting their business ideas. For many of them, this is the first time they ever set foot in what looks like a pitch, and they did a really good job, and I congratulate them already. Now, we live in challenging times, both for our countries and for your industries as well. Now, if we look at trust, Romania, unfortunately, has one of the lowest levels of trust between people. And this impacts everything from partnerships to entrepreneurship to relations, etc. As business leaders, and Steven has been in Romania for a lot of time, do you see changes in the level of trust between you, your customers, partners, and the public system in this new context, in this new world, to some extent?
Well, that's a generous question. So, but I think a few things. In the first place, trust is of course based on a relationship, and so our business is relationship driven, and within a relationship you build a trust over time. So I think in time of a crisis, you can see better what it means, what trust is really worth, what a relationship is really worth. So we have to maybe distinguish a little bit between relationships driven situations and purely transactional stuff. But what I find encouraging is that we actually talking nowadays about the importance of trust in the society, and that is something that let's say a number of years ago was not the case. We would just explain it away. Well, we all understand communism, Turkish rule, whatever, and but we're coming to the point that we understand that trust is an extremely important part of the society. And so if we like it or not, if we really want to increase productivity or we really want to have a better society, then we better try to do something about it. And now, of course, that's the question. Then, okay, well, what can we do? And that's a long discussion. But the first thing is, of course, to have relationships and look at stuff relational rather than seeing everything in life as a transaction.
Yeah, as a client of the bank, since my father opened his business before it was called Raiffeisen, actually, with the previous Romanian bank. Yeah, it's about relationships, not just customer relationships, but also B2B relationships, if you like. Paris, you run, you're managing Coca-Cola in Romania, and you also have the bottler, which is a different type of a company, of a business to some extent. and you do a lot of B2C, but a lot of B2B, of course. How was this, these 3 to 4 months for you, and do you see as a sort of a new expat in Romania? Is there anything different about trust that you see in Romania compared to Switzerland, for example?
First of all, thank you for having me in this very distinguished discussion. We haven't met before, Steven. I've heard many things about you, the longest standing CEO in Romania. So it's a great pleasure and honor to be in this discussion. When it comes, and as well, a big congratulations to all the participants as well for putting forward their ideas, their beliefs, their passion, and trying to make a difference in this world. Let me just say that this is one very important topic. Like big organizations such as Raiffeisen, Coca-Cola, Enel, enabling this thing. It's a great manifestation of making trust a bit even stronger and evident. Well, when it comes to the B2B side of life, and I think that everybody here can really talk about that. What the current crisis brought is a lot of uncertainty, as there were no pre-cooked solutions. Usually you have a risk management book and you have a business continuity book, but I don't think that many of us had the pandemic business continuity book. So a lot of really uncertainty. So the way that we decided to go about this is mainly listen to the customer's point of view. Coca-Cola is made available and all our portfolio through our customers, the big retail chains, but as well the very important traditional trade, the small independent outlets that they are more than 40,000 in Romania. So basically understanding what is happening, how the consumers, how the shoppers react. I think that was like a very critical piece of informing our actions day by day. We had to really discard very quickly all our plans and what we thought that would be beneficial, and making having a very outside-in view. So that was something that it was for me very beneficial in ensuring that the trust still remains in our business partnerships through our bottling partner. And let me just say that. I think that Steven alluded to that. Trust is not something that all of a sudden, like during the crisis, I'm going to decide to be trustful. I think it's something that you build over time. So unless you have been a responsible corporate citizen, and not only with your business partners, but with your entire ecosystem, then I don't think that you will have a lot of credentials for people, like really to believe you. Because trust is belief, is nothing more. Belief in competence, and belief that you are able to do the job, and belief as well in your corporate values, in your character. So I think that was some few things that drove our business decisions during with our customers. We serve more than 90,000 customers here in Romania through our bottling partner. So very important piece, and something that I really learned a lot. So very grateful for this experience so far.
Yeah. In the same time, we talk about trust, but trust has enemies. And one or two enemies of trust these days is a world of increased disinformation and fake news, let's say. What is your take on this, and how does it, in the same time, affect business and entrepreneurship on the long run? Because it creates a world of insecurities in the same time. How do you look at this as business leaders, as citizens, and as consumers in the same time? Whoever wants to.
Yeah, I can say a few things about this. I mean, I think in the first place, we need to understand also where distrust comes from. And unfortunately, we see that although now there's uncertainty always, but I think we are seeing the politicians figuring out that creating distrust, creating fear, creating a lot of uncertainty is actually good for them. Because so they then we need more authorities, we need more people that protect citizens against all the terrible things that are going to happen if we don't give more money to our politicians. So I think that's one factor that we see. Companies will adapt, but at a cost. And that's the problem, because the cost is not going to be paid for by the companies. They will pass it on. They will pass it on to the consumers. And that is, I think, the real problem. So these sort of things should be debated in our society. Do we see these movements? Are we agree with this? Do we? What should we do about it? At the end of the month. So it is a tremendous cost to the organization. I mean, I just came out of a debate about relaunching the economy, and of course, you talk about the predictability of the environment. I mean, it's extremely so. Then who can influence this? So we can spend billions of money to try to convince people to invest. And to spend money to consume, etc. But maybe it's much cheaper not to contribute to a state of uncertainty and fear to start with. You see, I mean, it goes hand in hand. So the more uncertainty you have, the more fear you create, the more money you need to stimulate people to consume or to invest. Yeah. Anyway. I think, as always, it's also an opportunity, as I said earlier. In a crisis, you can see what a relationship is really worth. And life is becoming kind of complicated when you don't have access to the right information, where lying and mispresenting of facts seems to be considered good business practice or normal in political circles. But at the end of the day, we as society will pay for it. So we better find a way to address it.
Yeah, Paris, what's your take on this?
I think that Steven pretty much covered in its entirety the topic. And let me just say that this is not just here only in Romania, perhaps, that this is a global issue. I mean, big countries, US and going beyond, their reputation because of this disinformation, or for a certain political narrative decided to follow a different path, obviously has big consequences later on. It serves only short-term purposes and really doesn't really enable any kind of discussion about future investments, belief into the economic system. And obviously it will backfire eventually. I think on our end, he is making sure that we based all our decisions on facts. So better science, I think, especially in this situation, and the numbers is much more important. So understanding this and having strong leadership around and actions on how we can mitigate the pandemic or any other crisis, I think it's the most important thing. And I think misinformation is not just something that appeared now. Again, I think it's something that existed across the board. And I think here in Europe, we had a big wave of populistic, let's say, parties or discussions. So it's looking forward, I think, what we can do about this and what we're already doing that is going to be the most important thing.
Yeah, I think one of the only things that we can do is to actually keep talking about data, about science. And speaking of numbers and data, I just read the recent IMF report, plus any projection about the economic situation around the world and in Romania looks very gloomy. Besides some official statements from the Romanian government, most of the other statements are quite gloomy. How do you as business leaders and you as representatives of the business world, and we also work with Concordia Patronatul, Confederația Patronală Concordia, sounds better in Romanian. How do we brace ourselves for this new wave of shortages and economic crisis? What do you say to your partners and clients, and how do you actually prepare as industries for the finally, we have a crisis that we really know it's happening.
Yeah. But maybe Paris should go first this time, so I don't all the time.
Thank you. So I look. Many people, I've heard them say, and this is so right, it's never waste a crisis. And I think this is a crisis that it goes beyond economics. It really touches many aspects of our society fiber. I think it starts with internal, with how we inspire our organizations to really embrace and reimagine the way that we are doing business, and the way that we are actually as well engaging with the society. So how much we're doing on that aspect that later on is going to be translated into business impact as well. So there can be many reports, there can be many projections, and many discussions around what shape the recovery will take. I think that we see, and how frequently they change. We see it in how the stock market moves, completely disconnected with any kind of economic reality. So I prefer, that we really see this internally as Coca-Cola. What we can learn out of that. What was not really serving the purpose in the previous normal, and how we need to behave, how we need to digitize, for example, how we need to change our way of doing marketing, our way of going directly to consumer. So all of these things that will make us, actually thrive through the new environment, versus just, trying to go back to a normal that most probably it was not really. I don't think that everybody will agree that this was the best thing that we ever had. It was the paradise. So basically seeing and taking this as an opportunity to change and make the projections ourselves, I think it's mainly the attitude piece that I would like to cover here. That obviously comes with a lot of investment into capabilities. So it is all about engaging with all the right players in our ecosystem, the startups of this world, and the technology companies, helping us understand how we can make our interactions with our consumers and our customers even better, faster, safer, and fun as well, because obviously we are offering an experience as well to the consumer. That is in a nutshell. So, yeah. Steven.
Yeah, Steven, and Steven, with maybe also a bit with your financial hat as a bank, not just as a business representative. How do we prepare?
I think first we need to accept that crises are part of life, and so I'm sometimes a little bit surprised when I see a few weeks into the crisis, a lot of people starting immediately screaming that the government should be doing this and help everybody. If after 7, 8, 9 years of economic growth and on top of that very low interest rates, a company has zero reserves, then I think we should ask ourselves the question about how was this company managed and why does it have zero reserves? So the first thing is up to its owners to see what they can do. So that said, So I think you should always make sure that you have a reserve and that you have some sort of cushion and create some sort of flexibility when you are going forward. If we don't know, it's like when you travel. It's a journey anyway. So if you don't know what the weather is going to be, I mean, or if you will find water on your hike, you will take a little bit with you and a little bit more. Maybe you go a little bit slower, but at least you will be able to face a setback or a problem. So financially speaking, of course, in this whole crisis, liquidity is extremely important. And here we get back to relationships and also to trade and to trust. So now, so you have a company, and yeah, in certain businesses, man, you are not even allowed to do business. I mean, Concordia, you know, I'm also the president of Concordia. So if you, we have hotels in our, as association as our members. I mean, you're basically closed down by government. So this means so you have no income. So then, okay, what does it mean? So what can you negotiate, or when you're a restaurant with your partners about, well, paying the rent, yes or no, or paying later, and so you're talking again about relationships, and you talk about trust, and I see that now, in order to survive situations like this, you need to have a certain level of solidarity, which is based on trust, which is based on previous experiences, and that's how you need to move forward. You can, of course, the financial system plays now an important role in terms also in distributing liquidity, government-sponsored programs, etc. But that cannot replace, let's say, the relations between business partners that go into a tough time and will eventually, hopefully, regain a viable business proposition.
Yeah. As we're heading towards the end, what we usually do in many of our live talks is that we ask panelists to ask each other a question. So let's see, maybe Paris has a question for Steven, and Steven has a question for Paris, and it can be also very challenging. So, you know, give it your best or worst shot. Paris or Steven, who?
I mean, for me, as I mentioned, you know, and I think it's an important element of trust is as well listening and learning from other people's experiences into this crisis. So for me, again, it's a great honor to be in today's discussion. I know, Steven, that you are here in Romania for, you know, almost like 20 years. And obviously being in the banking sector, you have weathered many crises. Obviously the biggest one being the 2007-2008. You know, like, what would be the key learnings that you take from that era into the current situation? So that I believe that we can all learn from that. So that would be my only question. Thank you so much.
Okay, so what are the rules? I answer first, and then I ask my question.
Yes, I think that's it. But, yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, you know, what I learned in these crises and these moments is that reputation is extremely important, and you build up a reputation slowly over time as a brand, as a company, as a person, as a team. And I think it's only in moments of crisis that it really shows how much it is worth. So I think this is a moment to reflect carefully on, well, what have you done in the period when there was no crisis to build up your reputation, to make sure you have solid ethics, that make sure that you are a trustworthy person. It will help you in a crisis. So that will be my answer to you. In a way, you know, about crises, you say, so you should, in a crisis, you should do everything you should have done before the crisis, but didn't. But you can also say in a crisis, so sometimes don't let a good crisis go to waste. I think this is extremely important also for your reputation. In a crisis, you can show who you really are. So that is that would be my vague and long answer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And now?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I had actually two questions, but we'll keep it slightly philosophical. And I'll ask you, the question is, what should somebody do, or what would you do? Would you rather trust somebody who actually should not be trusted? Or would you really want to avoid not trusting somebody that actually can be trusted? So I mean, it's like so I can put it from the personal perspective also. I see if you basically don't trust anybody, then that's because your first priority is that nobody tricks you, cheats you, is one view. The other is, well, in principle, I trust everybody until, but at times I know it will cost me some money. So I mean, as a leader, what would you tell to others how you approach this?
I think that, in general, as human beings, we are social beings, and we have to relate to others. So, and this comes as well with trust. I don't think that here, I'm just thinking about the outcomes of if I choose option A, and the option A is like, I trust somebody that, eventually I shouldn't have trusted. And it did happen in my life. I think that I'm learning. I think that's the benefit that I'm taking this. It's people, they call it a bad investment, but I call it just an investment, because you never know what is the outcome, and trust is all about investing. So I think that from the option A, I would take, and it did happen to me. I'm taking the learning, and then I'm getting better. I know that I will get better. On the other option, the point is that, I will have to rely on my learning unless I don't trust on my own. So then, because pretty much I'm going to be like an island if I don't trust anybody. And obviously that will require for me, to find all the right mechanisms to learn otherwise, not only from the people interaction. So what would be the other type of investments that I have to take for my own business and as well for myself, if I choose not to trust anybody, which is also very, very difficult, I must say. And naturally it doesn't come, I think, for people. It's a very lonely road. This is how I would approach this, and I think that there is not a right or wrong. I think that at least in my life I encountered both things. But it's a very interesting question. I will remember it. Thank you, and reflect much more on that.
And since we're in a public space, I will take the opportunity to invite both of you this summer for a 30-minute conversation with our finalists about self-trust, and how do we increase that in a period where more and more of us are losing confidence and confidence in each other. And in terms we have a lot of questions from the audience, but we won't have time to take them, but I'll make sure to send them in private to the speakers, and speaking, because we like to share what we believe in and some of the trust that we look at. We also meet in November 18 and 19, most likely online, but with a very interesting model of offline work, and for Future Summit 2020. Besides the pitches that these lovely young entrepreneurs will have, we have Future Summit, and some of the things that we actually talked are going to be discussed there, in particular with a twist and a focus, not just on the future, but how do we reach that desired future, not just the expected future. On that note, I will give a huge thanks to both Paris and Steven for their time. We took about 5-6 minutes more from their time, but we really appreciate everyone's time. See you soon. Have a great end of the week, and let's brace ourselves with trust for the next months and years to come, of course.
Thank you very much, Ciprian. Paris, it was a pleasure meeting you online. Look forward to meeting you in real life, and good luck with the program. Looks like an excellent thing. Looking forward to the winners, meeting the winners.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was great to be as well together with you, Steven and Ciprian, and obviously looking forward as well to meet you in person. I think I'm wishing all the best and and good learnings for all the 50 small organizations, small teams that they are embarking on this program. It's very useful. I'm looking forward to meet everybody, towards the fall, in one way or another, physical or online, and good job, and keep it going up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.